Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael J. Bunch. I'm a fantasy author working on my first novel. And today we're diving into a topic that's both exciting and challenging. How to write realistic and compelling romance in fantasy. There's no way to sugarcoat it. Romance can be one of the trickiest elements to get right in any genre, but it's especially complex in fantasy. We're not just dealing with the intricacies of human relationships, we're also navigating magical worlds, epic quests, and otherworldly creatures. But don't worry, I've got you covered. So grab a coffee or your favorite drink, and let's explore the art of weaving romance into your fantasy tales. First, let's hear from some of the masters. I've gathered insights from 5 famous fantasy authors on writing romance in their works. Their wisdom might just spark some ideas for your own writing. One, we have Leigh Bardugo, author of the Grishaverse novels, and says, I think romance in fantasy is often dismissed as less serious, but it's a vital part of the human experience. It's about vulnerability, trust, and growth, all crucial elements in any good story. And this reminds us that romance isn't just a side plot, but can be a powerful driving force in character development and storytelling. And 2, we have Sarah J. Maas, and she advises, when writing romance in fantasy, it's important to remember that the relationship should enhance the main plot, not distract from it. The best romantic subplots are those that are inextricably linked to the characters' journeys and the world's conflicts. This highlights the importance of integrating romance seamlessly into your fantasy narrative. And 3, we have V.E. Schwab, author of A Darker Shade of Magic. In fantasy, we have the opportunity to explore relationships that transcend typical boundaries, whether it's between different magical races, across enemy lines, or even across time. The possibilities for unique and compelling romances are endless. This encourages us to think creatively about romantic relationships in our fantasy worlds. And 4, Naomi Novik, author of Uprooted and Spinning Silver, offers this insight. Folk tales and myths are full of romance, often with high stakes and magical elements. Drawing inspiration from these can add depth and resonance to fantasy romances. This reminds us of the rich tradition of romance in fantasy and folklore. And 5, Sabaa Tahir, author of An Ember in the Ashes. In fantasy, we often deal with characters facing extraordinary circumstances. Romance in these contexts isn't just about attraction. It's about finding connection and humanity in the midst of chaos. It can be a powerful tool for exploring themes of hope, sacrifice, and resilience. And this perspective encourages us to view romance as a means of deepening our themes and character arcs. Now, armed with the wisdom of these fantasy giants, let's delve into 5 tips for writing realistic and compelling romance in fantasy. So 1, we have ground your romance in character. Fantasy worlds are vast and often filled with magic, but at its core, romance is about people. Spend time developing your characters individually before throwing them into a relationship. What are their fears, desires, and motivations? How do these align or conflict with their potential partners? The more real and complex your characters are, the more authentic their romance will feel. And 2, use the fantasy elements to enhance, not overshadow. Your world building is important, but it shouldn't overshadow the relationship. Instead, use the unique elements of your fantasy world to create interesting scenarios for your couple. Maybe one character is a shapeshifter, leading to questions of identity and trust, or perhaps your world has strict magical hierarchies that keep the lovers apart. The key is to integrate the fantasy and the romance seamlessly. And 3, build tension and anticipation. In fantasy, we often have the luxury of time. We use it wisely, let the romantic tension build slowly. Stolen glances, accidental touches, shared dangers. These can all contribute to a slow burn romance that keeps readers hooked. Remember, it's often the anticipation that's most exciting. And 4, avoid clichés or subvert them cleverly. We've all read about the chosen one falling for their loyal sidekick or the human elf forbidden love. If you're going to use common tropes, find ways to make them fresh. Maybe your chosen one is actually terrible at their job and relies heavily on their more competent love interest. Or perhaps the human elf relationship is complicated by cultural misunderstandings that go beyond the usual humans age and elves don't dilemma. And 5, don't forget the conflict. Every good story needs conflict, and romance is no exception. But in fantasy, you have so many more options for conflict. Maybe your lovers are on opposite sides of an ancient magical feud, or one of them might be cursed to turn into a monster at night. Whatever you choose, make sure the conflict feels genuine to your characters and your world. Remember, at its heart, romance is about connection. It's about 2 or more individuals finding something in each other that resonates, that complements or challenges them. Whether your characters are battling dragons, casting spells, or navigating royal courts, their relationship should feel real and relatable. Writing romance in fantasy is a balancing act. You're juggling world building, plot, character development, and the delicate dance of falling in love. But when done well, it can add a layer of depth and emotion to your story that will keep readers turning the pages long into the night. As you work on your own fantasy romance, remember to stay true to your characters, use the world to enhance the relationship, build tension slowly, avoid or subvert cliches, and create meaningful conflict. And most importantly, have fun with it. Romance can be one of the most enjoyable aspects of both reading and writing fantasy. And that brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you found this information useful and maybe even a little inspiring. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to be notified anytime I post a new video. So I've posted links to my other social media accounts in the description below if you'd like to connect with me there. You'll also find a link to my website where you can sign up for my mailing list. Subscribers get exclusive updates on my writing journey and will be the first to know when my book is ready for pre-order. And one more thing before we wrap up. I'd love to hear from you. What are your favorite romantic storylines in fantasy? Do you have any tips for writing compelling relationships? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I always enjoy reading them and continuing the conversation with you all. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, whether you're writing epic battles or tender moments, the key is to stay true to your characters and your world. Keep on writing, and I'll see you in the next video.